Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show. Welcome to MS&Me. Today's topic is Thriving with MS with guest Kaz Aston. Karen is a public relations consultant, community specialist practitioner, a campaigner for multiple sclerosis, Rotary Club member, drag racer, seller, and radio personality. Actually, I could go on and on. I like to open my show with a quote from my guest. And I quote, "Although I've had to battle my way through some tough attacks of the disease in the past, I'm always inspired by the experience I've had and the people I've met along the way." And Karen, I think that quote really embodies your spirit. And it's an honor speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you so very much.
Now, do you want our listeners to call you Kaz or Karen?
Well, I really don't mind.
Okay.
I tend to use Kaz for my radio name and various things. So I don't know if they want to call me Karen, of course, but
okay.
Kaz or Karen is fine.
All right, great. Then we'll call you Kaz since our listeners will be getting used to hearing you on our radio network, and we'll be sharing all those resources that you have set up online as well.
Great.
Now, Kaz, can you share with our listeners your MS diagnosis story?
Yeah, I mean, I've been diagnosed with MS for, well, over half of my life, a long period of time. So for me talking about it now, it's, it's quite a long story taking itself back to the 1990s. But as I said, the diagnosis was quite tough, and that's something that I'll always hold in my mind. The uncertainty, the not knowing, no one in our family ever having this before. What's this all about? And also as well, being in the middle of a university training course, added to making it a little bit more of, I really haven't got time for this now, but I think we need to do something. So, as I said, I don't think there's ever a good time in life to find out, that you've got a health challenge, is there? But, it was for me when I was 21, and it was something that I'm glad in the end I found out about, because it was a bit confusing, it was a bit scary, and just waiting to find out or get a label, really, I suppose, you've got this or you've got this problem because of this, was a big thing. And that for me, when I did find out, it was tough, but at least I thought, wow, it could have been worse.
Yes, absolutely. How did your close friends and family react?
Well, I was at university doing my medical training, and so my parents were down in Cornwall, in the West Country in England. So, 250 miles away, and I couldn't go and sort of have a chat to my mum. I couldn't go and sort of say, "Dad, what do you think about this?"
Right.
It was all on the telephone. And we talk on all these things. At that point, we weren't using all the Skype and all the, the images and the video conferencing like we do today,
Right.
But it was still a telephone conversation until I could go down and see them in person. I had to sort of say, well, this is how it is, and this is what my doctor said to me.
That must have been really difficult.
Yeah, it was, because it was 2 weeks before my finals at
Oh, yes.
university, and I was like totally locked on to my exams, and I've been studying for 3 years, and I'm thinking, God, I've got to pass this, but at the same time, I need to let my mum know. And it's that sort of, I need to let everyone know, because I've been going through sort of diagnostic testing. I mean, I was having sort of headaches when I was 10. So
Yes.
on and off, I'd had a few sort of different things in my life, and to finally get the diagnosis in some respect was a relief. In others, I thought, ooh, okay, let's go and learn about this one.
Yeah, I can totally relate. I've had MS since childhood, but it took forever to get a correct diagnosis. And although you're relieved to have a name, know what you're battling, so okay, now we know what to do. It's also, it's not like you're relieved to have it, and it can be life-changing. Now, for you, did you think, oh no, now I have to change my career path, or oh, I have to change the course of my life around this disease?
Well, I looked at it because, as I said, I was just about to qualify as a nurse. I've been training with the Royal Navy and doing all of this fantastic training.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, okay. And I was also working on a neurological unit. So I was seeing what this can do to people, and people having a relapse and coming in having steroids, and I'm thinking, okay, that seems to help. And so it was all, I was seeing a lot of it firsthand, and meeting a lot of people that were involved with MS charities and various things all at the same time, because my work was looking as well at working in the community. So, seeing people at home and how they were managing and things like, mobility challenges. So I was having all of that firsthand. So I think it made me a bit more tuned into my own needs, really, and think, right, well, these are your options and this is what you could do. Yeah, so, that was useful.
I've heard others who are trained in the medical professional, clinicians, physicians, and there's various, responses to this. But do you think for you that insight into what can happen with this disease actually made it probably a little worse for you, knowing everything and the inside, view on the disease? Or do you think it actually helped you know that, okay, this disease has so many different disease courses. This is not necessarily my outcome, and now I know what to throw at it?
Yeah, and it was exactly that, it's at that age when you're thinking, am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids? Am I going to go and join the such and such, or carry on with the military thing? I had all of these, because I suppose when you're at that age, it's a pivotal point in your life. A lot of people meet their future partners in their early 20s, and a lot of things are happening, and you're making decisions like, yeah, I want kids. No, I don't want kids this year. But you're actually starting to formulate your own opinions about what you want and what you don't want. And I think as well, probably being diagnosed at that age, I was a bit like, no, I'm not going to take that, a bit rebellious, a bit, no, I'm going to not give up, and no, I don't, So, they talk about different stages they have acceptance and being angry, but yeah, I think I was a bit annoyed, but I didn't really have time in my eyes because I had to pass my finals.
Right.
Because I spent so long studying, 3 years, and all the other sort of time and life work commitments I'd made. Mm-hmm. So I felt I just had to get on with it and address these challenges if they arose, and they didn't arise really for a long time. It was, as I said, the diagnostics bit that made it real. And yeah, having optical problems was the biggest thing that I, first few times experienced with my MS. So, which could happen to anyone. So you think, wow, what's here, Exactly. So it was a very colourful journey, and a very, I wouldn't say the worst journey ever, but not the nicest. So it was a bit not quite sure where we're going, but I can see all these people around helping. When you sort of walk into a situation, I think, wow, there's that charity. And because my mind was so tuned in, and I was in the middle of an education sort of side of studying, my mind was like, right, and there's this and there's that, and in that country there's this, that, and then you can go and have this hyperbaric treatment, you can go and do this, and in case of emergency. So I was whacking up all these different opportunities that were there. there. So I suppose I was doing a bit of contingency planning, really, wasn't I? Thinking, well, you need to get
I think
there.
we really need to do that, actually. And, there are people who looking in from the outside, and they see those who have lost more mobility and are further, into their progression of their disease course. And they're like, well, this must have stopped this for you. This must have stopped that. Or they see me at this point of my progression, which I'm in stage, and they're like, oh, well, it stopped your whole life, and I'm so sorry you missed out on this and that. I'm like, no, I've lived a whole life. I used to work. I've done this with my career. I had patients I was in charge of. I've had, I've done many, many, many things until I got to this point in my progression. So it's not just diagnosis, stop. You live your life.
No.
In all that time in between. And many people don't see that, and they get really discouraged when they are first diagnosed. Now, was the medication reaction one of your toughest challenges living with MS?
Well, I think it was, because it did. I think because of my balance being affected and my vomiting center being affected, feeling sick and being wobbly on your feet isn't a good call, really. And for me, that was wow. They were sort of things that I wasn't expecting to have to, you think, well, we think MS, you think, well, what's this going to affect? Your mobility, your this, your that. You don't think you're going to be, being sick all the time, and you don't think that you're going to have those sorts of symptoms. But as I said, for me, I was like, right, I've got to be prepared. It could go a whole multitude of ways that I've seen in reality with people in hospital, in the community. Okay, let's do the best job we can to sustain. And for me, it's all about keeping my MS not active. So it's about it behaving, and it's when it gets active that it gives you problems, as I've found out over the years. So for me, it's this balance, get the balance right. Take the medication that is possibly going to help you, or going to help you, whatever, and just really keep us calm and keep going.
It's true. It's all about that balance and finding out what's right for you. Each of us are different. Each of us have comorbidities, so we just find that right balance for us. And many people give up on medications when they first take it. If they get one of those nasty side effects, they're like, well, I feel worse, so I'm quitting. It's like, how many days have you been on it? Oh, 2 days, and it's horrible. It takes a little longer than 2 days to get used to a new medication and see what it's going to do for you. So that's really difficult for people who are just starting out. Now, what lifestyle changes have you made personally? Diet, nutrition, and fitness, all of your lifestyle changes have you made to keep your balance?
Well, for me, I think one of the areas I've always been very focused on trying to have a balanced, healthy diet, not necessarily a specific type of diet that follow this, take that, but, having a balanced diet and looking at the weather and thinking about, what if we can get some more sunshine or if we can't, and basically for me, it's not stopped me eating anything. I thought, well, if your body doesn't like it, my body's a bit more sensitive after I had the reaction to that MS treatment in the past. But no, it's just getting that balance right. And I think it's trial and error. And sometimes you think, I love that. I'm eating that all the time. And other times you really don't want it.
Right.
So I think that's because we've got so many choices.
It's true. Yeah, me personally, I just try to eat a balanced diet. I have to watch certain anti-inflammatory foods. I have to make sure I have those in my diet because, inflammation will trigger very easily in me because I also have lupus and, RA and some other things. So it's just that personal balance for me. It's not sticking rigidly to one prescribed diet. And I think a lot of people have to do that. They have to find what works for them, what they can stick to as a lifestyle, not a diet, more of a lifestyle. What exercise? Do you find any kind of fitness that really helps you?
Well, do you know what I have found with my diet, and these over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, I found maybe it's part of that kind of wisdom thing, getting a bit older, but I have found that being lighter, not carrying as many pounds, has been really, really huge in relation to, not that I've been obese or had huge challenges, but being lighter really has made a positive difference. So when I, changed my diet and stopped, being a bit more conscious of my diet and eat what are the amounts and that side of it, being lighter, reduced my fatigue levels, and also encourage my physical desire and want to do more as well.
Yes.
It was quite shocking, really. You didn't think, oh, wow, that's just what I ate. I did that to myself. That's nothing actually to do with my MS.
Right.
But it resonated with my MS because it made me more tired, and I think, wow, I was climbing my flight elegance round on my body, and,
Yes.
and sometimes, that's part of enjoying life. Food's great, and all the different foods that we can enjoy in life are amazing. But sometimes, you just find yourself enjoying it a bit too much and get a bit heavier and a bit wider. And,
I think we
it's
all,
one of those things.
We all kind of have that weight where we feel better. There's not trying to stick to societal norms or anything. It's what works for us, what makes us feel better. I know I have a weight where I exercise better and I transfer better, and, it's easier on balance. It's easier on a lot of things sometimes with MS. So it can also, of course, affect our overall health. So you find that weight that, is best for your overall health. And sometimes it will help with certain symptoms with your MS as well. Definitely with balance, I think it's easier if we're at, an ideal weight for us personally. I think that really helps. I enjoy a lot of activities. I know you're a very active person. For me, it's been more overall activity, and then adding in my aqua aerobics and adding in things like yoga and just more active lifestyle. So I know you live a very active lifestyle as well. Over the past couple of years, you developed a passion, for all kinds of things that keep you cognitively and physically active. You do educational short films, radio interviews, your car, cycling, sailing, clay shooting, golf. And I know that helps you, just with your overall health. And I think it helps us with cognitive health as well. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so, because I was only reflecting on cognitive benefits because, yes, as you said, I like to engage. I like to try different sports. I like to try different things that I've never tried, perhaps, or that maybe one of my friends is into, and you have a bit of a team, family, whatever, outing, friends together, having fun, and you just try things, don't you, sometimes? Get an opportunity to, and as I said, some people are very scared that say having MS is going to stop them from doing that.
Yes.
And my MS team have always said, well, when I've said, can I go drag racing? Can I go sailing? Can I do this? Or is there anything that you think that I shouldn't do? And it was really good because my MS team have always been, well, I think you should try what you want to do and do what you can, and as long as you're not hurting yourself, or when you get, as we say, get the balance right, do what you can and you want to. And I think actually participation and when you're doing fundraising and you've got that team effort, you may be helping for somebody to get a certain thing, a wheelchair or something that they really need, and you're doing some charity stuff for it. It kind of is quite inspiring, of course, but also it's quite energizing because you're thinking, my MS isn't stopping me. Come on, we can do this, and team and moving forward. And I felt like that recently on a charity run I did with a motor rally.
Yes.
To actually raise awareness about MS. And a lot of people say, well, that's just sitting and driving a car, and I'm saying, well, yes, it was, but it was all through 6 countries.
That's fascinating, though. That would be so exciting.
In the Dolomites, which are quite big, steep kind of areas,
right?
Exactly. Up in the sky, it was quite tough. And it was a boy's car, if you really need to know.
There you go.
It was a very powerful car. But the fact was, we were the only girls driving as well. And that was the thing. I was like, come on, we can do this. Everyone's, together, and we're helping each other. And
you're inspiring
others,
others, some people who might have thought, I could never do that. That looks so fun, but I can never do that. And there aren't any females doing that. Well, now there are.
Yeah.
So join in.
No.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well, that's what we said. There's two of us, and there we were.
Uh-huh.
We thought we're raising awareness about MS. We're also helping to raise awareness for stroke rehabilitation and rehabilitation neurological side. So we were doing things that really meant things to people.
Absolutely.
So, and I said, this is just the start of the journey.
That's
we're
right.
going to be doing
Part of the
loads
journey.
over the coming months to help people.
That's amazing. And see,
So
that's what I love about you. I mean,
one first.
obviously you're responsible. You check with your care team. You make sure, physically it's okay for you to do it. But then, you have to go through that journey of thinking, okay, if I do this, I might have to do this, this, and this because of my MS. I just prepare myself. And then I figure out how I can still participate. And that's what it's all about. Just still getting out there, engaging. And you get as much reward, personal reward, as you're giving to others. So I think that's what's great about people who stay engaged.
Yeah. It's almost sort of giving something back as well, which is nice, isn't it? Sharing your experience.
It is. And we help others because when you first go into this, and whoever's going through whatever stage, of living with MS, it helps to look to others that have been there before you. How did they do it? How did it go for them? And you can be inspired by that, and you could pull everyone with you, And like you said, we're also spreading awareness to those completely unaware of the disease.
Yeah.
Now, you set up a website where everyone can access your blog, your latest charity projects, and spot-on information about MS. Can you tell everyone about your website?
Yes. I started off my journey with the websites with my own KazAston.com website, but then I decided to develop the MS Clear Guide because I wanted people, it's explaining this in a way because it's unpredictable. It's, as I'm talking about, it's either active and giving you a headache or it's not active. And so I wrote the MS Clear Guide, which is msclearguide.com, where again, you can translate, thanks to Google, into 60 different languages. But it just explains some of those questions that were going through my mind. Can I have kids? Is it going to do this? Is it, and lots of different examples. It doesn't talk about different types and brands of treatment, just different options that you can think about. And, helping someone to read something on their phone sometimes is quite helpful. So you can read it online and it's free. It's something that I did with my doctor, my MS doctor, another MS doctor I work with, because I thought, no, I think this is something in today's age with mobile phones and apps and everything else, that if we've got a guide to something that says what it can be like, simply without all those big medical scary words, I think it's a start.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what my focus was, really.
Because we can read the information like you do with the MS.
To get that basic information out there.
Right. We can read that, basic information from MS Trust, MS Society, and they help provide a lot of the information that you use in the Clear Guide. But it's the way you put it. You took out all clinical language and you just put it in a way that all of us can understand. And it really broke down most of our basic beginning questions we have with MS. When I read through it, I was like, thank you. That is the most well put I have heard it since I've been researching about MS. And it really does, because it can be quite daunting. You're getting so much information. You're not sure what will happen to you, out of the information you find. But it's a wonderful, wonderful guide for beginners. I really, thank you on behalf of the whole MS community. Not that I can speak for all of us, but it's just such a wonderful tool that I recommend it all the time. And guys, that will be put on our website. It will be put on all of our social media in case you forget any of the addresses to her website, to the Clear Guide. We'll put that on everything so you have that as a continuing resource. You can also go back to it because, even though we might not be beginners, something new might come up. And it's explained so clearly there, and then you can cross-reference that. So we definitely want to make sure that everyone has that as clear information for their journey. Now, I have just read through, on your website, on your Facebook page, and I'm just fascinated by some of the things you've been able to participate in. And since many of us don't get to do that, I wanted you to share with some of our listeners about some of the awesome things you've done, like the Cannonball Run, Team Go Girl, everything you've done. I mean, it's just amazing. Can you share with us some of the recent things you've been able to participate in?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yes. It has been an exciting journey because I've been very focused on also recognising contribution of women, and in not just in the MS world, of course, in the bigger picture. So
Yes.
I've been doing a lot of work around that as well, and have an interest in acknowledging that with our awards we're doing. But basically, yes, I've worked on the MS Clear Guide, which we were talking about. What do we need to add? And it stood the test of time because it is what it says on the tin. It's a clear guide. It's straight to the point. It's short. It's sweet in the respect of you don't sit there thinking, well, I'm just going to go and Google that word and Google that word and find out what that means.
Precisely.
Because with those titles that they give sometimes, they just sound worse than they actually are,
Yes.
with the acronyms and then the this and the that, and you think, oh, okay. But, that was one thing that I've had so much feedback about, so much people have come back and said, well, yeah, it was a way that actually I could say, well, read that about MS without him feeling petrified, starting to cry or whatever.
Yes.
Because I'm standing there thinking, okay, he's just asked me to marry this, this is what readers have said to me, I had a marriage proposal. It's like, well, I think you need to understand what's wrong with me. So, and getting, like you said, that message that everybody can read and you don't have to be Einstein or super, super intelligent to understand it.
Yes.
Because that's the point. It's simple language that tells you, but at the same time is backed up by the other people that in that world that we trust as well, such as the MS Society, the MS Trust, all of those charities that are doing great work. So, as I always say, it's a starting point that sometimes can make it easier as well for your employer if they just want to understand, because they don't know what to say or what to do if you've got a diagnosis of that. And knowing that in certain countries, and I'm doing a lot of work with Europe, and different MS groups which are global. But, the fact is it's having common language, because services can be different, as you said at the beginning. You've got to find out what's available in your local area, because they are so different. And they need to be different because of lifestyle and temperatures and climates and everything else and the landscape. But it's great that all this stuff is there. And a lot of stuff, I would say, is free. And I've always said that. No, my friends that have helped me with this, that are consultant neurologists, no one's charged, because we want to help people understand, and not to feel scared, I think is important.
Yeah, it really is. And you have been able to do so many fun things with the charities and with the Rotary Club of London. It's just been amazing watching you and what you've been involved in. I have a fondness for racing, so that was really fun for me to watch you.
Oh, well, this is the thing, isn't it?
Yes, my grandfather. Yeah, my grandfather owned a racetrack, so I was like, "You go, girl." So to watch you road race, it was fascinating.
Yeah, do a quarter mile in 7 seconds. Right, I'm retiring now. I'm going to try something else. I did that, but it's, as you said, sometimes it's just not letting MS stop you do things.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of patients when I was a district nurse, which we have in the UK, working out in the community with doctors in practice. And they'd say, oh, no, I can't. And then it's like, well, why? You've got to get your balance, as we're saying, right? Why are you saying that you can't try that? Oh, well, I've got my, and sometimes it's just having the confidence, isn't it, to try something different. And I think when you've done it, sometimes I found after I did my first drag racing experience, 7-second run, but I felt actually quite inspired that actually if I can do that, I can do more.
It's amazing.
And it's the start.
If we do try something and there is an issue with our health or our MS kind of gets in the way, the key is, not giving up, trying something else or figuring out a way to do that thing in a different way. because there's many people who say, well, I had to give up cycling, because of my MS and my balance and strength issues. Well, did you try a recumbent bike? There are ways around it, and there's equipment and services these days where you can find just a different way to do things. I had to give up singing because of my voice, and I used to be a singer. Well, now my voice is a little weaker, but it's still good enough for radio, so I can still share knowledge. I can't hold those notes, but I can still share knowledge. So it's just a different way of using your voice or using your body or having fun or sharing awareness, and it's finding those ways around our limitations.
Absolutely. And I think you said it, for me, having fun, because I always say to people, I'm happy to help with your charity endeavours, but we've got to have fun.
That's right.
I'm not doing this.
It's a requirement.
I do need a bit of that in my life, not just for wrinkle management, but I need it for me.
That's right.
So, it's and there are so many good things you can do collectively, just sometimes so spontaneously, that just lift your soul and your spirits. And, I think, as I said, with MS, please don't let it stop you thinking, I'm going to have a go at that. If you need a bit of help, like you just heard, there's always another way. And, there's a great equipment, there's great chances to do things.
And you're going to come and join us here at the MS&Me radio network. But you've also worked with radio before. I thought it was great when you did the Santapod station, Nitro FM, and you raised awareness about multiple sclerosis, and including co-presenting at the European and UK finals. I mean, you've done so much. And wasn't that how long did you go on that one radio broadcast, raising awareness?
Well, I went into the radio station after I'd done this charity quarter of a mile. They interviewed me, and then, for about the next 3 or 4 years probably, I was traveling with the radio station, going to Europe, and they'd never actually embraced charity before.
Wow.
This was the first time, and we're like, wow, this is good, isn't it? And all the listeners and the fans and also the drag racers, they were saying, we'll do something in our team, and they were helping us fundraise, and it was absolutely incredible to have that support from people. And I'm saying, and it's the fastest motorsport on earth. And having our friends, from America coming over, it was great. So we got to share information about MS services, and, people would just share. And it was brilliant, really good.
And you've helped get the fashion world supporting MS. You set up the A&L Fashion thanks to Mr. Philip Lester, who's a fashion manufacturer from London. I mean, you have done so much. You actually were manufacturing handbags, jackets, hats, everything. It's just amazing.
I know. Well, that was a fellow Rotary member, Rotarian, and Philip Lester. And basically, I studied fashion design when I was at school, and I've always loved fashion. And he had a fashion, he's been in the fashion world for a very long time. Yes. And so I said, okay, let's do. He also is a radio presenter, so we met on his radio channel. I then sort of started sharing my fashion story, and now I've gone on to design, as you quite rightly said, handbags and bags and purses, and there's new products are coming out because it's ways that I can make donations to MS, and we can get the word out there, and I can help people to learn about MS with the Clear Guide as a takeaway, as some people call it. But it's just something that, and knowing someone else is there that's going through the same sort of things that you are sometimes is really good. So the fashion world have been great, and that's all just about to come out with our new fashion lines that I've designed, and it's good because we looked at lines for Royal Ascot in the summer, and we've looked at the different types of products that we've got to sell, and it's nice that my mother's even inspired me to design one of my new handbags. So
I bet she had a blast with
really
that.
Good. Yeah, well, it's lovely because she's not been well either. She's had a
Oh,
stroke.
bless her.
So for me, it was like, right, I'm gonna. So I've got my Jackie bag coming out, which is inspired by my mother.
I will definitely be looking for that.
You know,
because I troll the website regularly. I
yeah.
love fashion.
Well,
If you look at my Pinterest, everyone knows it's all clothes and shoes.
Yeah, well, we've got to look good, feel
Absolutely.
good. Totally, that resonates in my life. Don't think that MS is, and also, yeah, we know that there's more women with MS.
Mm-hmm.
Statistics now are nearly 3 to 1, but at the same time, there's an awful lot of beautiful people with MS and beautiful personalities, but absolutely gorgeous to look. And that's why we're even having in London. We're having a little fashion show with a couple of people because of wanting to learn more, wanting to help support people with MS. So, yes, watch this space on the fashion. That's just about to explode, actually. But it's all for charity. It's not for profit and gain.
Right.
I think I should do that really because it's costing me a lot of money. But at the end of the day, it's the fact that people get in touch and say that's really helped me, and that keeps me going. And please email me. As you said, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook.
Yes.
The MS Guide, Clear Guide is there as well. But please, if in doubt, shout, because there's no point in suffering in silence, and that's why I sometimes am having phone calls from people all over the world. And I'm quite limited. I mean, yes, with my English language and a bit of French and a bit of German and a bit of Italian, but as I said, there's always another way, and please get in touch if you want to.
You do find that way to have that impact, which is amazing. And all the links, as we said, will be on our website and hers. You can see the clear guides there. You'll see the fashion links. You'll see everything through KazAston.com. So we'll put that up for you guys, so you'll have that as a resource.
Brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. We'll make sure they're all connected. Yeah, I mean, that connection, that's what's so important. But I wanted to really thank you, not only for sharing with us today, but joining the network. We'll have that continued relationship. We'll make sure they are able to follow your resources for years to come. And it really is all about making those connections, getting people that accurate information, and you've done that in a way they can understand, which I think is even a step above. We do that as well, on our website, and we use it like a patient portal to other resources. But when you have quality information like you've put out there, I think it really bridges a gap for a lot of people and staves off that fear and being overwhelmed when they're first learning. And I think that's one of the most important things that you've done, besides the fact that you set that example for people around the globe, particularly women, that don't be limited by, oh, well, no, guys do that, or I can't do that with my MS. And you show us that we can. We absolutely can, and it's about trying to do it in different ways. If we can't, my husband even said one time, speaking of the fashion, because I'm all into fashion and shoes and handbags, he said, why are you buying those shoes? You can't walk anymore after your stroke. And it was before I had completed rehab. And he said, you can't walk, so why are you buying those expensive shoes? Seems like a waste. I said, oh, really? I'll be rocking these shoes in this wheelchair. Because it makes you feel like you, even though you're not walking in the shoes, you're wearing the shoes even in a wheelchair, and it feels like part of you and your personality. It's your way of still expressing who you really are. You're not the wheelchair, and you're not the MS, and you're not this other stuff going on around you extraneously. You're still Erica, you're still Kaz, and you have to express that in any way you can.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And now, are there any recent projects you want to share with us before we go?
Well, I think really, to be honest, I think the big one was driving 3,500 miles across Europe with the supercar GB. We are just about to put the reports out because there's always a continuum with these stories. And I'm actually in discussions to do another supercar event in Europe next year. So, and I actually want people to understand what it's like. And you can do this with MS, as I did in the Dolomites and, across Europe. You can can drive these cars, but
Yes.
basically I just want to show people, and also they can even hire them with a discount in some areas. I've managed to negotiate some benefits for people with MS, because they're not cheap.
No.
But again, if you're hiring them, these are all the things that are out there. So I will share this report when it's done, because I want you to be able to see some of these cars. But girls can drive, and we got so much respect from the girls when we were driving this car, the Audi R8 across Europe, because normally women just don't, and we were like, come on, you can do that, why can't you do it? So we were waving the banner for females too. And I'm going to be continuing to do that, as I said, and keep you posted on that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we'll keep reposting, as new projects come out. Now, where are you exactly in your MS progression and dealing with multiple sclerosis, Kaz? How is it affecting you today?
Well, to be honest, I've been on an MS treatment I had probably about 4 months ago, 5 months ago now. I had my 100th infusion of my MS drug. And I'm pretty balanced. I have to have my MRI scans every quarter, and I'm looking for some wood here. That's the old touch wood, but my MS is stable. It's not active at the moment.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, it's a real relief, particularly, as I said, when you've got family worries and things. Stress just makes things harder. But my MS is behaving. I'm having my MS treatment, and there's some great new options even coming out for the future. So I'm planning, if I had to change, what I'd look at. And as I said, for me, the biggest thing is sometimes fatigue, and my balance isn't 100%. So those beautiful shoes, I'd say, will keep you at home tonight. But that's the thing for me, and I've found since losing a few pounds, that's got better too. So I'm, just always trying to keep the balance right so I can carry on.
That's great. Now, with fatigue, I know so many posts, even in our MS&Me ladies group online, about fatigue. Besides losing a few pounds and keeping your nutrition balanced, have you found anything else that helps with your fatigue?
Well, to be honest, I've found that I eat a lot of fish, and I've found that element of my diet, and I like to have, as I said, I do eat meat, the whole lot. So it's that balance side. And I think sometimes my body just tells me, it's like, I need some salad, I need some food, and I listen to what I do need, and sometimes I think, oh gosh, but that's as well as getting older. So I've found that not having as much sort of fatty food sometimes has helped, but sometimes I'll sort of think, well, I do need a bit of that, and so it's getting that sort of not denying myself of naughty things and having a bit of ice cream sometimes, but being conscious not to have too much.
Yeah,
less is more.
Less is more. Yeah, it is just sometimes about controlling it, And I found that scheduling my naps help. I know that, earlier in progression that a lot of times if people take, naps or sleep too much during the day, then it'll affect their rhythms at night. So it can be a bad thing. But I found later in progression that it's actually helped me to schedule naps. And that helps battle my fatigue. So I think
that's the thing. Everyone's got their own thing, haven't they?
That's true. It's true. And, I think that as we get more mature with learning all this and learning ourselves in life, I think we learn to respect everyone else's choices more. I know that I've grown to respect that and learn to listen to myself, like you said, really learning to listen to myself. My mom was on the show last week, and she did an interview with me, which was very interesting, about, because advocating for a child, since I've had it since childhood. And she was saying that was a real tough one for her, was knowing, okay, what is I need to push my child, what is, growing up with your hormones and everything else going on, and relationships and learning to socialize. And what is I need to push my child, and then what is I need to back off, because she's listening to her body and she's growing up and she's learning to say when. And she would learn that if she pushed me too hard or I pushed myself too hard, then I'd end up in the bed. And it was just a learning process for her as well as me. You know, as as my care advocate, she would learn when to kind of back off and when to draw the line. And sometimes you can't feel what someone else is going through. So you do have to let them learn to listen to their own body. And I think that's true as physicians as well. You know, when we're talking to our physicians, we have to understand they can tell us what the average is, the norm is. You know, look for signs, look for things in our testing, but a lot of it has to come from us. We have to communicate because we're the only ones who can feel what's going on inside ourselves. And we have to become a care partner with our physicians and clinicians and our whole care team. We have to communicate with them. And I think that's what you do so well. You keep your care team and you keep communication going and you still go. You know when you can go, and when you can, you go.
Well, I think it is, isn't it? It's sort of knowing when you can't. It's knowing your feeling and your flaws for me. So it's sort of like, well, until I will continue with something until somebody says stop.
Yeah.
And with my MS, it's got to be my MS doctor that says that. Whoa. Right. And I'll probably even ask for a second opinion because I'm fortunate enough to have two doctors that look after me.
Yes.
They work together, as a lot of consultant neurologists do, and they've got big caseloads, don't they? Mm-hmm. And it's like, right, so that's your opinion, Dr. Nicholas. What's yours, Dr. Matlick? You know, and because is that two-way talking. It's sharing your situation, listening to as you said, their points, the facts, the evidence, but collectively approach to try to get you through the situation. And I think that is where sometimes we don't want to hear it, but they can help you so much, can't they? To actually be a bit more realistic and stop punishing yourself or stop giving yourself a hard time because you can't do something. But actually, a lot of people can't do that anyway, you know, and it's sometimes we're just a bit harder on ourselves too.
We really are. But I think when we keep that open communication and we get our whole care team communicating as well, I think that's why we have better outcomes. You know, I've often had people ask me, well, Erica, you know, you're advanced MS. How do you do so much? How do you stay so active under your circumstances? I'm like, I do what I can do. And I keep that open communication with my whole team, and they know what I can do, and they watch out for me. And if anything's coming up that I'm not cueing in on, they let me know, and I correct for that, and I keep going. And it's all about just doing what we can do, and we get so much out of giving to the community. I think that's my strength, and I feel like that's probably your strength as well. Is that we appreciate and get so energized out of helping others.
Yeah. And seeing a positive difference in their life.
It really does. And I encourage other people to do that as well. The more, because MS can be so isolating. It can be so isolating for some. And I encourage others to get out there in different ways. Sometimes, you know, you're bedbound.
Reach out,
Yeah, and you have to reach out in different ways through social media, you know, or other avenues. But reach out in your own way, the way you're able to reach out.
In your own time, when you want to, and your own rules. I think that bit, owning it. I mean, I know the bankers say that. Own it, drive it, move it forward.
That's right.
You know.
It is true.
But it's true. It's taking control of what you can control, and sometimes that's not quite as much as you'd like to.
Right.
But it's a start.
It really is, and it will reduce a lot of that, you know, frustration, depression, other things that we have coming, you know, at us, and it will let us see purpose. It will let us really keep that purposeful life that keeps us going, keeps us fighting, and keeps us, you know, operating at our highest possible level. And I think that that's when we really influence others as well. That's when we become such a great influence on others. And I think it personally is so rewarding for me. And I can see it. I can see it in your face in all those pictures, you know, just that sheer joy, you know. And I think it's what it's about, laughing, having a blast, you know, and just getting the joy out of life.
Yes, and doing it with so many people, and whether you don't know them or they're your family or your friends, but just mixing it up and giving yourself a range of different things to look forward to. I think, some of them you might have to wait a bit longer for because we can't do them as much as we like, but it's still looking forward and thinking, yeah, and I did that. And like you said, it's like having a diary, isn't it?
It is.
Well, when we did that, we achieved this. And I think that,
yeah,
as well, because sometimes you're always so hard on yourself and you think, well, actually, look at what we've done.
Exactly.
And be a bit kind of like, actually, that a lot of people say, well, do you think you've done better? And I'm like, well, actually, I'm glad I've done it. That was the first thing, and it's a start. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I've managed to do the first part of this, whatever journey you're going to go on. And that's the nice part, isn't it? Not, and I always say, failure is not an option. You're saying like talking with carers and stuff. No, failure is not an option. There's always another way. Do not worry, because there is, I think. And it may not be exactly what you want, but I'm sure you can get a solution that you're happy with.
And we found our greatest strength when someone tells us we can't do something or we do fail at something we've tried. And then we get up and we try something else or we try it in a different way. I personally checked off something from my bucket list, which I'd never thought I would do this past summer. And my mom, when I started to attempt it, she's like, you can't do that anymore. Are you sure? This is just going to make you... I'm like, wait, nope. I know when I can do it, and I'm telling you it's time to do it. And it was a blast, and I took loads of pictures, for everyone to share. And it was amazing. It was just amazing. I'm glad. Once you have achieved it, you're glad that you did it. No regrets. No regrets.
Oh,
no
fantastic.
regrets.
Well done, you. Go, girl.
That's right. Now I'm a you go girl, too. But it's wonderful, though. But I just wanted to thank you again, Kaz, for joining us today. And
it's my pleasure.
And I wanted to remind everyone that you can listen to her very soon on our MS&Me radio network. You can visit radio.msgsn.com for our full schedule. Each time we add a new host from around the world so they can share their point of view and their experiences with you all. Make sure that you visit her website, kazaston.com. We will put all of her information too on our social media and our website so we can get that out there to you. You will have that as a continuing resource. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have an amazing day and a wonderful week. And everybody join us here again next week. That's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1500 International. And Kaz, just cheers. You've been amazing and just a bright spot in my day.
Oh, thank you. Well, you have fun too, and I'll speak to you again soon, I hope.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Lots of love from London.
All right. Bless you. We are just so blessed to have Kaz join us, here at MS&Me Radio Network. We're just so excited to see the information she can share with her show, all of her life experiences. And we will get that information out to you guys as soon as her show starts airing. It will be added to our schedule, so you guys will not miss her show. I know you guys will want to follow her and her new adventures. Also, if you guys want to become a host here on MS&Me Radio Network, just drop us a line. We would love to add you globally to our lineup. We have hosts from all around the world, and we want to make sure that all of our experiences are shared and we all have a platform. So just give me an email, drop me an email at msandmeradio@gmail.com. So that's msandmeradio@gmail.com, and I will send that over to our station manager so he's sure to get your message. I'm just so blessed to have so many wonderful people joining me each week here on MS&Me Interviews. It was a blessing to interview my mother last week, and that link will, of course, it's on our YouTube channel. So it's on the MS&Me Radio and Media YouTube channel. So we'll make sure you all get that link to that show. It was saved on demand for you on our YouTube network. So we make sure you guys get that link on our social media as well. We'll add that. So if you need to share with a loved one or friend who is newly diagnosed, we'll make sure you have the ClearGlide information so that can be shared. It's so important that when we're newly diagnosed, we're not overwhelmed. It can be so overwhelming. We think, what has happened to, someone we're presented with MS will, necessarily happen to us. It can be very scary, overwhelming, and limiting, but we all have a different journey with multiple sclerosis. We also have to remember that there's new treatments out there. Just 10, 20, 30 years ago, the last 60-year study showed that MSers live 14 years less on average than the average person, but now it's cut down to 7. And I'm sure when the new numbers come out, they'll be even lower. We're living closer and closer to an average lifespan. There's so much we can do. And yes, sometimes we have physical limitations. We have limitations with bladder issues, balance, vertigo. There's so many visual limitations that sometimes get thrown our way. But as Kaz and I said, we can find a way around that. We can live that adventurous life. We can give back as well and spread awareness. We just sometimes have to find another way to do that. So I hope you follow her amazing example. Follow her adventures on her website. Follow her here on her upcoming radio show. And we can all learn to do what we are able to do. Stay connected with one another. Don't let MS, depression, and isolation become part of our lives. Reach out through social media if we can't be there in person, and still participate and give back. It's just such a blessing. So if you guys want to join in and volunteer for anything here at MS&Me, you can go ahead and drop us a line as well at MS&Me Media, like we said, MS&Me Radio at gmail.com. And we'll have something for you to do if you want to live a fuller life or just give back in some way, whether you want to work on our Facebook groups or on our social media, or you want a radio show. Any way you want to give back to the community, we're just here to support all of the other amazing, organizations that there are already for our whole MS community. One community, we're all fighting the same disease. Have a wonderful week, you guys. Bless.